Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom and welcome to today's Daf Yomi NIDAH Daf Samach Zayin. We're on the last line of the previous Daf. Omar Rav Shmuel bar Yitzchak. Isha le'sitbal b'nomal. A woman should not be toivel, should not go to the mikveh in a harbor, in a port, since we're concerned that the boats that frequent the port have stirred up the mud and they may pose a chatzitza and prevent the water from coming into contact with the Isha. Afagav the hashalaka, even though at the present we don't see any mud on her. Eimar berdiyuni nafal, we're concerned that perhaps the mud was shaken off while she emerged from the water. Avod Shmuel, we see in the following story a similar concern. Avod Shmuel, the father of Shmuel, Avad Lebanse, he prepared for his daughters to be toivel from their tumah. Mikvois b'mei Nisan, he prepared for them mikvois during the days of Nisan, immediately following the winter time. Umaftzi b'yom Tishrei, and mats in the days of Tishrei. Now, what is this referring to? So, the halacha is that a mikveh can be valid in two forms, either a mayan or a mikveh. A mayan is a natural spring. A mikveh is a gathering of water. Now, the fundamental difference, halachic difference between these two types of waters, a natural spring, a mayan, may be used even if it is zeichelin, even if it's running water, even if it's not stationary in one place. However, regarding a mikveh, a boir, an enclosed, a gathering of water, in that case it needs to be kavah v'kaimi, it needs to be stationary, still in one spot. It can't be moving, it can't be zeichelin. See, a mikveh, it's not just coming into contact, immersing yourself in the water of the mikveh. It needs to be in the place, in the makom of the mikveh. You need to immerse in the domain, in the actual makom ha-mikveh. Therefore, only if it is bimkaima, it is stationary, it is still. However, if it's on the move, if it's on the go, then it is not valid for tefillah. However, regarding a mayan, a natural spring of water, in that case, it is kosher even if it's flowing. That is its natural state, it's flowing. It's flowing, as the pasuk says, Kol ha'naharos holchan al hayam, all the waters channel, they flow towards the ocean. That is the Seder Habriya, that is the natural phenomenon for all the streams in the world. Therefore, that is still considered mekayma, that is you are being toivel in the stream even if it's moving along. So that is the fundamental difference between a mayan and a mikveh. Now regarding a river, which is fed by natural springs, so that depends at what point of the year we're speaking about. If it is Yomei Nisan, it is after a long rain period of the winter, or it is Yomei Tishrei, which is after a dry summer. So the Gemara explains to us that Avod Shmuel, he used to prepare a mikveh for his daughters to be used during the Yomei Nisan. He did not allow them to be toivel in the Mayan, in the dinar, in the river. However, b'yomei Tishrei, he would allow them to use the nar, but he would prepare mats for them to avoid coming into contact with the riverbed, which may be muddy and pose a problem of chatzitza. Now, what is the difference between Tishrei and Nisan? Very simple. During the Yomei Nisan, which is after the full winter and the rain periods, at that point, the level of the river is swollen. It's above normal. And it is full of, it contains a lot of the rainwater, which was channeled to it throughout the winter. In that case, the river is not necessarily considered to be a mayan, even though it is fed by natural spring water. However, since it filled up, it swelled as a result of the influx of the megashamim, of the rainwater. Now the megashamim are not mayan, they're not spring water. Megashamim can only be matar, can only be used if they're gathered in one place and not moving along. So therefore, a river which contains, we're concerned that at that point, after the winter, it contains a majority of megashamim. Most of the river consists of megashamim. Therefore, the river cannot be used as a mikveh since it is moving along. It is on the go, it is on the move, it is zeichelin. And rainwater are not matar b'zoichlin. So the river has a status of a mikveh, and therefore it cannot be used since it's moving along. So therefore he did not allow them to use the river during the Yom Nisan, but rather he prepared for them a mikveh of still water. However, B'mei Tishrei, which is after a summer, at that point the river is back to its normal level, and since it is fed primarily by spring water, it has a status of a mayan, and therefore even if it's zeichlin, even if it's moving, it is still a kosher mikveh. So again, Avod Shmuel, the father of Shmuel, Avod Lebansi, prepared for his daughters mikvois. He needed to prepare special mikvahs b'Yom Nisan. That was after the winter when the river was invalid for tefillah. Umafzi, and during B'Yom Tishrei, and during the days of Tishrei, which was post-summer, when the river was kosher for tefillah, since it now is primarily consisting of natural spring water, so even if it's moving along, if it's zeichin, it is kosher, so you allow them to be tovel. However, he was concerned regarding the mud, so therefore he did umafzi, he prepared mats so that they don't come into contact with the mud, and there's no issue of chatzitza. So here we see as well a concern regarding mud in the river. Continues the Gemara, another couple of halachas regarding chatzitza. Amar Rav Gidol Amar Rav, Nasna tavshilivna b'tavla. If a woman handed a tavshil, a cooked food, a sticky food, she came into contact with something sticky, v'tavla, and she was tabled after she gave the tavshil to her son. V'alsa, and she emerged from the mikvah, also la tefillah, her tefillah is pasal, it's invalid. Afagav dahashtaleka. Right now there's nothing on her hands, we don't see anything, any substance left on her hand. Eimer, we suspect berduni nafal, that when she emerged from the mikvah, it got shaken off and it got cleaned off, but certainly it was there, it was present during her tefillah, and invalidated the tefillah. Amar Ami bar Abba, another halacha regarding chatzitzes, Hani Ravde de Kusilta. These scabs, which result from the punctures of the bloodlettering, is this considered a chatzitza since it is not the natural skin, it is merely a scab? So there's a distinction, ad tlasa yomi loy chaitzi, up until 3 days, it does not pose a chatzitza since it is still soft, it is still bottle to the guf, it's considered like normal flesh. Mikan ve'elach, but once it hardens after 3 days, chaitzi, it is indeed a chatzitza. Amar ukva, lifluf shaba'ayin, mucus that's inside the eye, that depends, lach, if it's still moist, ein chaitzitz, it's not a chatzitza, since something that is moist allows the water to penetrate through it, and it is not considered to be a hefsek, a chatzitza, to pasal the tefillah. Yavesh chaitzitz, but if it's already dried up, at that point, it is a mafsik, it is a chatzitza, since it is preventing the water from coming to contact. At what point does it have the status of a yavesh? For when it begins to turn green. Amar Shmuel, another halacha regarding chatzitzes, they used to use some blue powder for cosmetic purposes, so they used to put it inside the eye, sometimes outside the eye. So if it's inside the eye, if she puts the kechol inside the eye, at that point, it is not a chatzitza, since the moisture within the eye moisturizes this powder and liquefies it. And as we spoke earlier, liquid does not pose a chatzitza, since it allows the water to penetrate through it, does not prevent contact. However, if she put the kechol on the outside of the eye, at that point, chaitzitz, because the powder is a mafsik, it's dry, and therefore it prevents the water from reaching and is a chatzitza. However, im hayu eineo parchais, if she blinks, and she blinks a lot, and therefore the blinking action, what it does is it loosens the powder, or removes the powder, and only leaves just a little bit of a insignificant amount, some really thin film of this powder. So in that case, since it's so insignificant, afilu gab al gabia ayin, even if the kechayl is outside, on top of the eye, on the outside, ein chaitzitz, since there's not much left there. Rabbi Yechon, another halacha regarding chatzitzes, pascha einea b'yaser, if she, while she's tovel, she opens her eyes very wide, and that causes a fold to form on the top of the eyelid. If she closes her eyes very tight, and that forms a fold on the bottom of the eyelids. So again, it's preventing the water from reaching where it should be reaching. Like also la tefillah, her tefillah is pasul. Continues the Gemara. Amar Reish Lakish, ha'isha lo sitboil elak derech deilasa. An isha should be toivel derech deilasa, in the usual manner in which she stands and conducts her business. Meaning, she should not cling her arms to her guf, to her body tightly. She should not put her feet together very tightly. At the same time, there's no need for her to extend her hands unnecessarily or extend her feet apart unnecessarily. But rather, she should stand and be toivel in the usual manner, in the way she walks and she conducts her usual activities. Meaning, just loose, not tight, nor exceptionally extended. Kidisnan, as we have learned a similar halacha in the following Mishnah, regarding a nega. If a man has a nega, he needs to show it to the kohen, and the kohen determines whether it's a nega tar or nega tameh. Now the halacha is, the pasuk says, l'chol marei eini hakohen. The kohen needs to have open access. It has to be visible. The nega has to be visible to the marei eini hakohen, to the vision of the kohen. And this comes to exclude lafuke beis hastorim. If the nega is found in a concealed area, it is not considered a nega, and the person remains tahor. Now, what is an example of beis hastorim? The armpit, or between the legs in a hidden area, beis ha'erva. So, how do we determine what is inside the beis hastorim and what is considered outside the beis hastorim? What is the borderline between the two areas? Says the Mishnah, we look at the person, we examine the person as he stands, as he positions himself in a manner in which he conducts himself, in which he does his usual activities. For example, says the Mishnah, Kedesnan ha'ish nira ka'oder. You need to take a person and position him in a way that he is plowing, he is oider. And this is concerning a nega which is found in the armpit. So when he is being oider, when he is plowing, he's extending his hand just a little bit, not too much and not too little. And this is a determination of what is considered the beis hastorim and what is not. If you see it while he is being oider, then that is evidently not in the beis hastorim. If it is hidden, then indeed it is considered the beis hastorim. Umaisek zeisim, and if you find a nega, if a nega is present between the legs in the beis ha'erva area, then we look at him, we position him in a way that he stands when he is moisek zeisim, when he is gathering olives from the floor, that he bends down a bit and spreads his legs a bit, and that is a determination for what is considered concealed and what is considered revealed. By an isha, however, we do it a bit differently. Isha niris kaireges, we view her as she is weaving, and that is regarding a nega which is found in the armpit area. So when she's weaving, since she lifts her hands a bit, that is a true determination of what is considered concealed and what is revealed. And when she is nursing a child, where she bends over a bit, and that would be a siman regarding a nega found between the legs. Says the Gemara, Amar Rabba bar Rav Huna, Nima, a hair which is knotted, Nima achas, a single hair which is knotted, Kishura, Chaytzetzes. A single hair which is knotted is a chatzitza, since one hair which is knotted into itself prevents the water from reaching that area inside the knot, and is considered to be a chatzitza. Shalish, if you have three hairs that are knotted together, they do not pose a chatzitza, since hair are stiff, and even if they are tied together, it is not tight enough to disallow water to penetrate in between them. So one is a chatzitza, three together does not get tight enough to pose a chatzitza. Shtayim, any idea, what about if it's in between? It's not one, it's not three, it's two. I'm uncertain, I have a suffix, not sure whether this is a chatzitza or not. We only know that one hair that is knotted is considered a chatzitza, but past one is not a chatzitza, whether it's two or whether it's three. So in conclusion, we had a list of chatzitza concerns. Number one, not being toivel in the nahar for fear of the mud that's present there. We had the halacha of an isha who should not come into contact with tafsha, with the cooked food. She should not feed her son, and even if you don't find the remnants of this tafshil after tefillah, they're still concerned that perhaps it was there and it came off during the tefillah, on the way out of the tefillah. We have the next halacha regarding the scab. Depends whether it's within 3 days or after 3 days, when it is considered to be batal, considered to be part of the skin if it's still soft, but once it dries up, it is not considered to be part of the skin and it is a chatzitza. We have the halacha regarding mucus inside the eye. Depends if it's lach, depends if it's yavesh. We have the halacha of the k'chil, of the cosmetic powder. We have the halacha of taking care not to open the eyes too wide or shut them too tight, but rather keep it loose, keep it just plain, and avoid chatzitza. The next halacha regarding what is the correct position of tefillah. It is the usual manner of walking and conducting business, and we had a support from the halacha, a similar halacha regarding negaim. Finally, we had halacha regarding a chatzitza due to a knotted hair. There is machlekes according to one shita. 1 is a chatzitza, 3 is not, 2 is a suffix. According to Rabbi Yechanan, only 1 is a chatzitza. If it's more than 1 knotted hair, it is not. For instance, if there are 2 that are bound to themselves, at that point it is not tight enough to constitute a chatzitza. Continues the Gemara. How much is a chatzitza? What is the shear? What is the amount that is considered to be a chatzitza? Rav Yitzchak Dvar Torah, according to the Raisa, according to the Din Torah, Rashi explains this is a halacha l'Moshe Sinai. It is not written clearly in the Torah, but it is a halacha which we received from Moshe, who heard at Sinai. Dvar Torah, Rubai hamakpid alav choytitz. There are 2 conditions that are required to determine that something is a chatzitza. Number 1, it has to be rubai. It has to be present in the majority. Rashi explains this to mean the majority of the sa'aris of the hair. Taisus disagrees. Taisus says that this is regarding even a chatzitza which is present on the guf as well. Rubai, majority of the guf, that is the condition of rubai. So achlekes rishonim, whether the Gemara is referring to roiv sa'aris or roiv of the whole guf. In any case, the first condition is rubai. It has to be roiv, a majority. It has to be a very, very significant amount of chatzitza there. The second condition is hamakpid. It has to be something that he is makpid on, that he objects to its presence. He'd rather have it off. He intends on removing it. So in that case, when you meet those 2 conditions, it is A, rubai, B, it is makpid alav, choytitz. That is it in Torah. Rubai ve'ene makpid alav. But if it is rubai, it is a very large chatzitza, but he is not too concerned with it, he's not makpid on it, einoi choytitz. So min HaTorah, that does not constitute a chatzitza. Since he's not makpid on it, Rashi in Sukkah explains that since he has no intentions of removing it, he's not too concerned with it, therefore it is batal. It is considered to be as if it's part of the guf, part of his basar, part of his flesh, and is not considered to be a chatzitza, and is fine. Continues the Gemara, this is midaraisa. However, midrabanan, they enacted exera to safeguard the Din Torah. Meaning, min HaTorah, you're required to have 2 conditions, rubai and makpid. Said the Rabbanan, v'gazru, the Rabbanan decreed, al rubai she'eni makpid. They decreed even if there are only one of these aspects present, either it's rubai or it's makpid, that is sufficient to constitute a chatzitza. V'gazru l'chacham v'gayze al rubai she'eni makpid. If it is a very significant chatzitza, it is roiv, it is very large, but nevertheless he doesn't care, he's not makpid. Mishum rubai hamakpid. Chachamim enacted a din chatzitza, a takana, a gzeira regarding a roiv, even if he's not makpid. Why? On account of the halach of midaraisa of rubai hamakpid, which is a chatzitza midaraisa. So they always went 1 step ahead, meaning in order not to transgress issa daraisa, chachamim made a takana. We have to stay 1 step ahead, even if only one of those 2 conditions are present. For instance, it's rubai, even though he's not makpid, it still constitutes a chatzitza and invalidates the tefillah. Similarly, regarding the second condition, v'gazru al mi'utay hamakpid, and they will geyser, even if it's only a mi'ut, it's only on the minority, but it's a makpid, it's not so big, but he is makpid, he is particular, he would like it to be removed, he objects to the presence of this chatzitza, he is makpid. In that case, too, it's considered to be a chatzitza. Why did they do that? Why did the Chachamim consider it to be a chatzitza? Mishum, on account of Rubai HaMakpid, on account of the chatzitza midaraisa by a Rubai HaMakpid. So they always stayed one step ahead. Either one of these two conditions, either it's Rubai or it's Makpid, we still consider it to be a chatzitza, gzeira mishum Rubai HaMakpid, which is a chatzitza midaraisa. Ask the Gemara, what if it's missing both conditions? It's neither Rubai, neither Makpid. It's only a small chatzitza, and he's not too concerned about it. What about that case? V'ligzar nami, why didn't the Chachamim make a gzeira as well? In the case of mi'utay she'enu makpid, in the case where there's a miut, and in addition he is not too concerned about this chatzitza, mishum mi'utay hamakpid. Since you are invalidating a miut hamakpid on account of the hakpada, since there's one condition present, he is being makpid, he objects. You just told me that midrabanan we consider it to be a chatzitza and validates the tefillah, so too the Chacham should be geyser, should make a gzeira, even by a miut she'enu makpid, since it is one step close to miut hamakpid. Says the Gemara, there's a big difference here. He guf a gzeira. A miut hamakpid is merely a gzeira d'Rabbanan, and therefore we cannot enact a gzeira based on a gzeira d'Rabbanan. We can't say, well, in order not to fall into, not to transgress a Issa d'Rabbanan, we will forbid even something which is a step ahead of that. We don't do that. Why? He go for gzeira, since it itself is a gzeira d'Rabbanan, v'anam neikum v'nigzar, should we go ahead and make and act a gzeira, one safeguard to benefit another safeguard? We don't do that. The Chachamim only have the power to make a gzeira to prevent, to ensure that we do not transgress Issa d'Oraisa. We need to stay a step ahead of the Issa d'Oraisa as a mishmeres, as a safeguard. As the Gemara says, we derive the halacha of making a mishmeres, making a gzeira from the pasuk. The Gemara is darshan vasu mishmeres lemishmarti, v'shmartem es mishmarti. You should safeguard my laws. So the Gemara Beis says, Rashi explains that the implication of that pasuk is you can only make a safeguard for a din Torah. You can only enact a gzeira one step next to the halacha Issa d'Oraisa, so that one doesn't come near Issa d'Oraisa. It's like a fence, like a gate around the precious object. However, to go one step even beyond that and say, well, if there is a gzeira, why don't we make a safeguard for that safeguard so that one doesn't even come close to the gzeira? That's already too far removed, and we don't do that. So in summary, min ha-Torah, what constitutes a chatzitza? If it meets two conditions: A, it is rubai, it is a very large chatzitza, which covers a majority, and in addition it is makpid, he is concerned with this chatzitza, he objects to it, he'd like to remove it. So it's interesting that the first condition is denoting the significance of the actual chatzitza. It is a quality in the actual inherent chatzitza, because it's so big, it's so significant, it is considered to be a mafsik. The second condition of makpid, that is describing the person's frame of mind. It is a chatzitza, it constitutes a halachic status of a chatzitza on account of the person's hakpada, the gavar's hakpada, and therefore both components together, they join to give this thing a din chatzitza. This is midaraisa. Midrabanan, however, Chachamim enacted a safeguard, and they disallowed even when one of these conditions are present. Either it's rubai or it's makpid. However, when both are absent, it is neither rubai nor is makpid, then even midrabanan it is not a chatzitza. Now there's a question asked on this Gemara, since nowadays we're makpid, we take great care to remove any chatzitzas, even a tiny chatzitza which is only miut, and even if the person is not makpid, does not have any intentions of removing it. Says Ramah, we need to remove that as well, so that we don't confuse things and we don't come anywhere near the true chatzitzas. Ask the Taz, what about gzeira l'gzeira? The Gemara here states explicitly that Chacham did not forbid such a minor chatzitza, since it is a gzeira l'gzeira. Says the Taz, when the Gemara speaks about gzeira l'gzeira, that is that the Chachamim didn't invalidate a tefillah when performed in such a manner. They didn't passel a tefillah with a chatzitza of a miut she'enei makpid, just as they did regarding a chatzitza where one of those two conditions were present, whether it was rubai or miutai. In that case, the actual tefillah was passel on account of the gzera. But Chacham will not passel a tefillah in a case of a miutai she'enei makpid. That's too far removed from the true chatzitza, the original chatzitza midaraisa. What the Ramah is speaking about is something entirely different. The Ramah is speaking about l'chatchila. It is preferable, it is better, it is advised for a person to remove anything from his guf prior to tefillah. However, b'di eved, certainly if he didn't do so, and there was something present which was just insignificant, it was a miut she'enei makpid, certainly the tefillah is kosher. Continues the Gemara. Amar Rav, NIDAH bizmana, a NIDAH, in her prescribed period of tefillah, we know that a NIDAH who sees dam, she is tummy for 7 days, and is toivel on the night following the full 7 days. She used to wait for the complete 7 days. We learn from the pasuk Tia binidasa. She is considered to be a state of a NIDAH. Kol zayin, the full 7. She used to wait until nightfall. So if she's being toivel bizmana at the completion of the 7 days, ain't tevelas ela balayla. She used to be toivel at night. She used to wait for nightfall. Shalei bizmana. However, if it's already past the time, say it's already the 8th or the 9th day, there is no stipulation for her to be toivel dafka specifically at night. Toivelas bein v'yayim bein malayla, she can be toivel by day or at night, since it's already past the full 7 days. There's no halacha stipulating that she needs to be toivel specifically at night. The point is just she needs to wait for the completion of the full 7 days. But if it's already the 8th or the 9th day, she can be toivel even by yom. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, true. Technically speaking, theoretically speaking, she can be toivel by day, once it's already the 8th or the 9th day. But there's another additional concern. Even if it's already past the time, if it's already the 8th or the 9th day, we don't allow it to be toivel only at night. Why? So that her daughter should not follow her in her footsteps. Meaning her daughter will notice that her mother is going to the mikvah by day. She will not differentiate between the 7th, the 8th, or the 9th day. She will think in her mind, it's probably the 7th day, and she's being toivel by day. So we see that's permissible. And when it comes her turn to be toivel, she may go be toivel by day, which will be the 7th day. And that is not permitted. So therefore, out of concern for this development of this rach vita, of her daughter confusing things and transgressing the halachas, we disallow the tefillah bayayim, regardless of if it's the 7th day, the 8th day, or the 9th day. Says the Gemara, even Rav reversed his decision, his halacha. NIDAH bein bezmana, bein mishlei bezmana, ein teveles ela balayla. Why? Mishum srach bita. So we see that Rav agrees to Rabbi Yochanan's halacha that a woman, a NIDAH, should never be toivel by day on account of srach bita, as to not to confuse her daughter. Continues the Gemara. This is only a lechatchila. There are some circumstances in which we have to allow an isha to be toivel during the daytime, provided that it's already past the full 7 days. For instance, Askin Rav Idi ben Narash, Rav Idi, enacted in the town of Narash, lemitbel b'yoyma de timnaya, to be toivel during the day of the 8th day, mishum arivasa, because there were lions prowling at night, and in order to prevent the woman from being exposed to danger, he allowed them to be toivel by day. This was an exceptional circumstance. Papunya as well, in the town of Papunya, Mishum Ganvi enacted this leniency because of the Ganovim who were present at night, the thieves that prowled the streets at night. Rav Yehuda did the same thing in Pumpadisa, Mishum Tzina, because of the extreme cold. Rava b'Machayza, in the town of Machayza, he paskened the similar halacha Mishum Avaloi, because of the gatekeepers who were goyim and did not want to expose the nashim to these negative elements. Continues the Gemara. Let's take a look. Let's see. Ha'idna, nowadays, after we accepted upon ourselves the chumrah de Rav Zera, that an isha who sees even a mashru, even a drop of dam, considers herself to be a zava and observes shiva nekim, a full 7 days. Now we know that, unlike a NIDAH who needs to wait until nightfall of the 7th day, a zava, on the other hand, in her case, she can be toivel, even be a mama, even during the 7th day, even during the day. She doesn't need to wait for nightfall. As soon as she observes part of the 7th day b'tahara, we apply the halacha of miktzas hayom kekuloi. Consider part of the day to have the same significance as a full day. She can already be toivel. Now there's one condition here. After she's toivel, she needs to monitor her situation. If she remains clean until the end of the day, fine. Otherwise, if she for some reason would see more dam after the tefillah, that forfeits, that invalidates retroactively her tefillah. So technically speaking, she can be toivel anytime during the 7th day, provided that she stays tar throughout the rest of the day. Says the Gemara, Michti ha'idna, nowadays, kulu safek zaves shavin rabbanan. The Rabbanan have applied the most stringent guideline to our women. We consider them to be safek zaves. Perhaps they are bimei zivasam, perhaps they have a status of ziva, and therefore they have to observe shiva nekiyim regardless of how many times she saw, how much she saw, and she is sefer shiva nekiyim. And at the completion of the shiva nekiyim, she is toivel. Said Rav Papa, why can't they be toivel b'yayim? Why are they restricted to tfilas laila? If she would really be a NIDAH, she sees dam Sunday, and she has a status of a NIDAH, then true, she has to wait until 7 days, until Matzah Shabbos to be toivel. But in our case, where she's waiting for the dam to stop flowing, and then only afterwards she's observing 7 days as a zava would, why can't she have the leniency of a zava and be toivel by day of the 7th day? Let her be toivel during the middle of the 7th day. Says the Gemara, Mishum de Rab Shimon, there's a problem, there's Xer de Rabbanon, the Sanya Achar Titter. The pasuk says that an isha who's a zava, she observes shiva nekiyim, afterwards she is toivel, she is tar. So we darshan achar lekul, and the pasuk achar is implying that it needs to be after the full 7 clean days. There can't be any dam anywhere in the middle. If she sees any dam within the 7 days, that invalidates, that cancels out the whole the days that she had already counted up until then. She needs to count it all over again. There shouldn't be any tuma interrupting the 7 days. There has to be a 7 consecutive Yimei Tahara. Reb Shimon Omer, we learn another thing from here. Achar titar, afterwards she is tar. What does achar mean? Achar maisa titar. After she did an action, even she only was safer, she observed only part of the day, she did somewhat of a maisa, of an action, titar, she's already tar because part of the 7th day is considered like a whole day. Miktas hayayim kekulay. So technically, she could be toivel right now, right in the morning. Chacham stipulated, also last gain, don't do it. Shema tovei de safek. Since there is a doubt here, there is an uncertainty as to what the rest of the day will bring. Perhaps there will be a negative development after she's toivel. She will see dam again. So don't jeopardize yourself. Don't allow yourself to come to a safek iser by being toivel and being meshamish, and then afterwards perhaps she will see dam again and jeopardize and forfeit everything that happened and invalidate the tefillah. That would inevitably mean that they were meshamish betuma, and that would be a avera. Therefore, don't do it, don't be toivel until the end of the day. So that was the answer that Abaye and Rava provided Rav Papa. Nowadays as well, even though she has the status of a zava, however, midrabanan, you're meant to wait until the completion of the full 7 days, until nightfall, and only then be toivel. Continues the Gemara. Omar Rav Huna. Isha chayfefes be'echad b'Shabbos, v'toivelas b'shlishi b'Shabbos. We know that an isha needs to do chafifa, needs to scrub and clean herself, free of any chatzitzes, of anything that might get in the way of the mayim, of the water reaching her. Now, l'chatchila, it is preferred to be chayfef in the afternoon, immediately prior to tefillah samuch, l'chafifa tefillah, to ensure that no chatzitzes surface between the chafifa and the tefillah. Says Rav Huna, a great chiddush. An isha can be chayfef on Sunday afternoon, although she's only intending to be toivel b'shlishi b'Shabbos on Tuesday. Here it means Monday night, beginning of Tuesday, even though there is a day in between the chafifa and the tefillah. Why is that allowed? Because we find elsewhere that an isha is allowed to do that. She's allowed to allow a day to elapse between the chafifa and the tefillah. We're not concerned about chatzitzes. See, here too, she's allowed to do it, and there's no concern of chatzitz. Shekain, since we find a similar halacha where isha chayfeves b'erev Shabbos, v'tavelas motzei Shabbos, if an Isha is Tovel on Motzei Shabbos, in that case she cannot be Chayfef by day, immediately prior to the Tefillah, since it is Shabbos, and being Chayfef, scrubbing the hair would detach some hair, and that would be a Malacha of Geizes. So in that case, there is no possibility, there's no Afsharas to be Chayfef Samach Tefillah. She needs to be Chayfef way back on Erev Shabbos. So we see that's allowed, just like she's allowed to be Chayfef on Erev Shabbos and be Tovel on Motzei Shabbos, even though there is a full day in between. Similarly, B'Moisei Chayil on a weekday, an ordinary Tefillah, an Isha can do that as well. She can be Chayfef today, although she's only being Tovel a day later. Similarly, Isha Chayfefes Be'echad B'Shabbos, V'Teveles B'Shlishi B'Shabbos. She can even be Tovel on Sunday afternoon, even though B'Revi'ah Shabbos, even though she's only being Tovel on Wednesday, meaning Tuesday night, even though there's a full 2-day gap in between the Chafifa and the Tefillah. Why? Why is that allowed? Shekain Isha Chayfeves Be'erev Shabbos V'Teveles Motzei Yontif Shechalias Achar Shabbos. In the case where Yom Tov falls out on Motzei Shabbos, in that case there's a similar concern. She cannot be Chayfef during the day on Yom Tov because of Malacha. She has to be Chayfef back on Erev Shabbos, although it's a full 2 days in between the Chafifa and Tefillah. So similarly, an Isha can be Chayfef even during the weekday with such a configuration of Chafifa today, although she's only being Tovel 2 days later. The third Chiddush is Isha Chayfefes Be'echad B'Shabbos and Teveles B'Chamishi B'Shabbos. This is already a very big time gap. This is already a 3-day time gap between the Chafifa and the Tefillah, and that is allowed as well. Why? Shekein Isha Chayfefes Be'erev Shabbos V'Teveles Motzei Shnei Yomim Tovim Shel Rosh Hashanah Shechalias Achar Shabbos. Since we find that if 2 days of Yom Tov fall out on Motzei Shabbos, in that case, when she's Chayfef on Erev Shabbos, and is only Tovel 3 days later, Motzei 2 days of Rosh Hashanah, which is 3 days later, that's fine. Similarly here, she can be Chayfef on Sunday, even though she's only been Tovel on Wednesday night, which is a full 3 days in between. Rav Chizda Amar, no, we don't say that. Kulu Amrinan. When it's unavoidable, Kulu, all these cases where she's Tovel Motzei Shabbos, or she's Tovel Motzei Yom Tov, which is immediately following Shabbos, or in the case of 2 days Rosh Hashanah, fine, it's unavoidable. We have no option, therefore it's allowed. But you can't draw an analogy to a regular weekday tefillah. Shekain lo yamrinan. We don't say this is allowed here because we find it elsewhere. Heichad efshar efshar. Where we could do it properly, certainly we should do it properly. We should be masmich the chafifa l'tefillah and be chayfef immediately preceding the tefillah. Heichad lo yefshar. When it's not possible, fine. We have no choice. But you can't draw a comparison from one to the other. A third shita, he agrees with Rav Huna. We do draw a comparison. We do say the analogy of Shekain, just like we find it elsewhere. So too, it is allowed even in an ordinary Yom HaChoyel Tefillah. She can allow a gap of 1 day, 2 day duration between the Chafifa and the Tefillah. However, Levar, there's one exception. Me'isha chayfeves be'echad b'Shabbos v'tayveles b'chamishi b'Shabbos. What was your third case? Rav Huna said even if she's chayfev on Sunday and tovel Thursday, meaning Wednesday night, which is 3 days later, that's allowed on account of the tefillah of a matzeh to Yom Tovim Rosh Hashanah after Shabbos. Says Rav Yemar, I disagree with that. In the case of Yom Tov Rosh Hashanah after Shabbos, in that case, we don't allow her. In that case either, we don't allow her to be chayfef so far apart from the tefillah. In that case, she'll have to be chayfef on Matzah Rosh Hashanah. Levar, says the Gemara, me'isha chayfefes be'echad b'Shabbos v'teveles b'chamisha b'Shabbos. In the case of Sunday to Thursday, that's not allowed. Why? Because what was your analogy? You brought a raya from Rosh Hashanah, which fell after Shabbos. In that case, either she is not allowed to be marchik, to generate such a great gap between the chafif and the tefillah, the efsha, the chayfef is balayla, but tevel is balayla. In that case, since it is such a great duration between the chafif and the tefillah, we don't even allow it then, and she will have to inevitably do the chatzitza at night, Matzei Rosh Hashanah. So we have two extreme shitas and something in the middle. Rav Huna says you're allowed to allow even a day, 2 days, or 3 days in between the chafifa and the tefillah on account of the fact that we find a similar halacha elsewhere. Says Rav Huna, I disagree with that. When you have no choice, it's unavoidable, fine. But if it's just an ordinary tefillah during a weekday, certainly there's no allowance for any gaps between the time of chafifa and the time of tefillah. She needs to do it samuch, immediately preceding to the tefillah. Rabbi Yemer says somewhere in the middle. I agree with Rav Huna that we do draw an analogy from what we find elsewhere, and therefore a 1-day gap or 2-day gap is permissible. However, a 3-day gap is never permitted, since even on Matzah Rosh Hashanah, we do not allow that, since it's too great of a gap, and she needs to be chayfif at night, Matzah Rosh Hashanah. Continues the Gemara, one more shita, Darash Merema, Hilchas Rav Chizda. The halacha follows like Rav Chizda, Ukadamataretz Rav Yemar, like the interpretation of Rav Yemar, meaning Rav Merema assumed all the stringencies. He took on the stringency of Rav Chizda that we do not draw analogies. If we find this elsewhere, we find a halacha allowing a gap between the chafifa and the tefillah. That's only where it's lo yefshar, where it's unavoidable. Suppose it's a matzah Shabbos, a matzah Yom Tov. Then we allow it. However, in the case of a weekday tefillah, you're not allowed to leave any gaps between the chafifa and the tefillah. So that is assuming the shita of Rav Chizda. Ukadamataretz Rav Yemar, according to Rav Yemar's interpretation, meaning I'm adopting even the stringency of Rav Yemar, which is that on a matzah Shnei Yom Tovim Rosh Hashanah after Shabbos, which would inevitably create a 3-day gap from Erev Shabbos till Matzah Rosh Hashanah. I agree with Rav Yemar that is not allowed. In that case, you will have to be chayfeif at night. So in summary, we have 4 shitas. Rav Huna says, Shekain, we draw an analogy just like we find something elsewhere, an allowance of a gap of a day, 2 days, 3 days between the chafifa and the tefillah. So too, an ordinary isha on an ordinary tefillah, b'yimei sachayil, in a weekday, she's allowed to leave a gap. According to Rav Chizda, that is not allowed. It's only when it's unavoidable. Otherwise, you cannot leave any gaps. Rav Yemer says, yes, we do draw an analogy. We do compare the halacha of a weekday to those halachas of Matzah Shabbos and Matzah Yom Tov, but there's one exception, which is Matzah Shnei Yom Tovim Rosh Hashanah, where we do not allow a 3-day gap in any case. And she needs to do the chafifa at night. The false shita is Mereimar, who adopted everybody's stringencies. He adopted the shita of Rav Chizda, that an ordinary weekday tefillah does not allow for any gaps. In addition, he adopted the chumrah of Rav Yemar, that even when it's unavoidable, it's seemingly unavoidable, it's a Shabbos with 2 Rosh Hashanahs, we do not allow a harchak of chafifa from the tefillah, and she needs to do a chafifa on Matzah Rosh Hashanah. Says the Gemara, Iboilu, they asked the question, Isha ma'u shetachav balayla v'titvel balayla. It's preferred for an Isha, of course, to be chayfef by day. Rashi explains so that she shouldn't be rushed, and she should clean herself properly. Therefore, we prefer that she does the chafifa, the cleaning process, by day, and is only toivel at night. But however, if that, for some reason, is not practical, can she be chayfef balayla? Mar Zutra Eiser, Rav Zutra says it's not permitted. Rav Chizda Misuri, Misura Shari. He says it's okay. Amalei Rav Adel, Rav China Misuri. Lav Hachi, Hava Uvda. Wasn't there the following incident? But Visu the Abamari Reish Galusa, regarding the wife of Abamari, the Reish Galusa, the head of the community, the Ikud, there was some sort of quarrel there, and she refused to go to the mikveh. Azor of Nachmar, Yisrael Kafiyusa, he went to pacify her, Amalei, and she told him, why are you coming to me now to convince me to be toivel? Tiski, I say Lamarchar, isn't it enough for you to come tomorrow? I'll be toivel tomorrow, what's the rush? And he understood, Mike Amarle, what she was alluding to, that she hadn't yet cleansed herself, and therefore she is postponing till tomorrow. Amar, so he responded, is that the problem? Dudi chasart, are you lacking pots of water to clean yourself? Tishtaki chasart, are you lacking stools to sit on while you clean yourself? Avdi chasart, are you missing? Do you need help? Are you lacking slaves? I'll arrange it for you. I'll take care of you. Take care of the chafifa and go be toivel. So although it was already nighttime, it was already balayla, we see, nevertheless she can be toivel, even though she's being chayfef balayla. So this is a proof to the shita that allows her to be chayfef balayla, even though she is being toivel that very night. And as Taisus explains, it seems to be only a b'diavad. However, the preferred method is, the Rashi explains it over here, that since there is a chashash, there's a concern of memaheres, of muhuma lebesa, that she will be rushed, therefore the preferred method is, of course, to do the chafifa in a relaxed manner during the day preceding the tefillah of the night.